What is going on, guys? So we're gonna start another playlist going on here. Yeah, I'm gonna still be doing the script with me for all those that just want to watch scripting or learn a thing or two from everywhere. But we're gonna also do this, and I'm probably gonna call this 0 to 100 scripting. And my game plan is to take you off from making no games in your entire life to being able to make hundreds of games in your entire life. And the way I'm gonna do that is through basic tutorials. So when you first open your studio, right, you'll get something like this. Ignore all of this. You won't get all of this. I will show y'all how to do that, right? It's not that hard. So what we're going to do, the first thing you open, you're going to come into here, right? You're going to hit Explorer. Then you're going to open Properties as well. You're going to open Find All, Replace All. And you're going to open Output. Now you'll see that your screen gets like super shrunk, right? So what I want you to go ahead and do is this little button right here. It's called Dock. And that's going to help you out. Dock those two and just shrink this down a little bit to your personal preferences, anywhere in there. And the reason you're going to dock these is because you're going to use these occasionally, but not all the time. Alright, so moving from there, what we have workspace, players, lighting, material, replicated first, replicate storage, all this good stuff. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down the list, right? So teams are just your teams. The only thing ever really you're going to put in here is just a team, right? However many you want. Workspace is all of your parts and everything else like that, right? Your terrain is in here, your camera is in here, spawners, base plates, buildings. Everything that you see on this screen right here is your workspace. Lighting just controls lighting. You got your atmosphere, your sky, bloom, depth of field, and sun rays, right? I like to personally keep those in. It looks nicer than I can personally do. Material service, don't worry too much about. Replicated first and replicated storage are both immediately replicated to the client. So anything that you put on here will also be able to be visible by any player in your game, right? And then you have server script service and server storage, GUIs, starter pack, starter player. And here we have starter character and starter player scripts. All right, so we're going to open our first script. We're going to go ahead and throw this, because it's a server script, inside of server script service. Now, I'm going to show y'all some cool things, right? First thing we're going to do, add author. And the reason you're going to do that is mainly for your own organizational purposes, right? Now, going from here, we're just going to write our first function, all right? So function ghost. Okay. We're just going to do local part equals workspace dot baseplate, right? And we're going to make this part its transparency. We're going to make it 0.5. And then we're just going to go ahead and call our function. The way you call your function is just by putting it in. Right, we already made our function, so we're going to go ahead and call that. Hit play, and you see that our base plate becomes slightly transparent. You can see the moon through it and everything else. Alright. Now another great thing about functions before we move on is that if it's going to be random things, right, what we can do is we can move this part, right, into here. And now when we call our function, we're going to do something called passing, right? Workspace, not word. Workspace dot baseplate, right? And now this is going to pass my baseplate into here so that my part now becomes the baseplate, right? And now I can hit play, and it still works. All right. So moving on to there. Now that we know how functions kind of work, we're going to learn what variables are, right? So you have your local string equals any text, hi, local bool equals true or false, right? We're going to put true for now, and then local int equals like 1.1, local number equals 1, right? So these are your four main types of variables, right? Any number, bool, string, and integer. The rest of them are things that you'll worry about later. You have your vector 3s, things like that, that you can store as variables. Those are usually considered integers, at least I consider them. But that's your basic variables rundown. So now let's see some things we can do, right? Let's go ahead and put a part in here. So we have our part, and you see our properties change the second we clicked on it, right? We can change all sorts of things in here. We can also change anything in here through scripts, right? I can make the reflectancy 1, which makes it super reflective. Make my transparency 1, which is invisible. I can lock it, unlock it, change its size, C-frame. Don't worry too much about C-frame yet. Change its origin, its pivot, its collisions, its anchorability, its shape. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to just change this from a ball, wait 1 second, change it to a block, wait 1 second, change it to the cylinder, wait another second, change it back to a ball, right? So now what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and do function. I'm going to name it morph. You can name it whatever you want, right? And now we're going to call it part equals workspace.part. So we're going to go and do a wait. So there are two types of waits, right? There's task.wait and there's wait. I advise everyone I meet to always use task.wait. It's way more accurate, right? So if I put 1 and I put 1, right, it's going to be completely random, okay? The wait is, at least. It's not going to be completely random, but it could be anywhere from like 0.96 to 1, whereas task.wait 1 is going to wait 1. So part.shape equals enum. We're actually going to wait for shape. I don't want to go into enums quite yet, so we're going to do size. We'll do color, actually. Brick color equals color.new. We'll do really red. Task.wait 1. Part.brickcolor equals brickcolor.new. We'll do really blue. And then we're going to go ahead and call our function. Yes, I placed it somewhere where I cannot see it, but we see it changed back to really blue. So we're going to move this to somewhere we can immediately change, or we can immediately see it all go. And we're not going to end it on blue. It started on blue. I don't want to end on really blue. We'll end on black. Now we're going to hit play. And we can see that it morphed, right? So now let's say we have a weird thing, right? We want it to change every single time the player touches it. So what we're going to do is we're going to do events, right? There are certain things called events, okay? And events are pretty simple things. Events are something that fire every single time something happens, and they're automatically in there by Roblox. So if I do local part, and I set my variable to an instance, which is another type of variable, right? Do workspace.part. Okay, now I set the part. So we're in part.touched. And touched, as you can see, is a fireable event. And you can see its event because I have touched ended. And event symbols are always the same, right? Remote event. It's a lightning bolt. And this is an event. So this is fired when a part stops touching another part. We're going to do touched. And then we're going to do a connect because we want to connect to the event, and we're making a function, so it's going to be a function. Right? So connect because we want to connect it to that. Function because we're creating a function based on this connection. All right. We're going to do part.size. Now sizes are a vector 3. Okay, the vector 3 is x, y, and z. So we're gonna do 1, 1, 1, test.weight, part.size equals, Jesus. We'll do 5, 5, 5, and then we'll double that one more time. Vector3.new, 10, 10, and 10. And then we're just going to do another test.weight, part.size equals vector3.new, 1, 1, 1. Now, what we're going to see, and I'll explain why after, and some of you that have been paying attention to how I wrote certain things will notice it the second it happens. See? It's just flashing. Now, there's a couple different reasons why. One, touch event fires not just when players touch it, but anything touches it, right? So you can see that it's bouncing and it's hitting the ground. And because it's touching the base plate, it's going to keep doing this, right? Another thing that we're seeing is it's flashing. And the reason it's flashing is because we don't have any time in our weights. Now that will get rid of our flashing. But how do we get rid of the base plate being able to start it, right? We only want this to fire when players are happening. I don't want players walking around my game and just seeing balls that jump and everything like that, right? So what we're going to do is in here, we can see that something's passed. Remember how I showed you passing with the function? Something is passed, right? And connects a given function. And we want to know what is passed. I believe it tells you. I'm not quite sure. We'll do part, right? Other part or base part. And what this is saying is it's passing another part or whatever part that touched it, right? So I know it touched it, and if I want to know, we can do another thing called a print, right? And so in scripting, the easiest way to check code is to print, right? So if I print and I hit play, right? Oh, yes. So I did something that you should never do in code, which is overwrote a variable by putting it in there. So we're just going to pass touched part. And we don't want to print part, we want to print touch part. And we're going to hit play. And now if I look at my handy dandy output, it's telling me it touched the base plate. So what can I do to make it so that's only players? All right, so we're going to review something about players real quick. So regardless of whether you're an R6 like this game or R15 like other games, you're going to have a few key things. You're going to have the humanoid root part, you're going to have a head, and you're going to have a humanoid, right? So if I do if touch part, find first child, humanoid, then end. And now some of y'all may be wondering why I used find first child instead of just a dot, right? And that's because I'm using it in a if-then statement. And find first child actually returns. We can see that because it says returns the first child instance found with the given name, right? And by not putting any checks in it, you know, the double equals or single equals or anything like that, I'm telling it if it exists or doesn't return nil. So doing this is the equivalent of doing double equals nil or double equals false, right? Except it's not double equals, I'm doing doesn't equal nil, right? And then boom. And now this will also not work, right? Because I put double equal still. We're going to change this to a doesn't equal nil. And this still won't work, and there's a reason for that, right? If you see, it's not printing my name, it's printing the parts that it's touched, right? And so we need to do touch.parent. Find first child humanoid. So I come in here and now it's going to do the things, right? But we see that it didn't quite do the things. First off, we're going to go ahead and anchor this part because I don't want it to keep rolling around. And the reason for that is because there's no debounce. And what a debounce is, it is allow code that is meant to run once, only run once every time it's touched, right? So we're going to do local debounce equals false. And we're going to do n debounce double equals false. Then debounce equals true. And at the end of this, we're going to go ahead and make debounce false again. And we hit play. And it will flash through all of them. And then I touch it again, and it'll flash through all of them again. All right, guys, well, this has been the start of basic Roblox Lua 0 to 100. And in the next video, we're going to go ahead and review some other things, and I'm going to figure out what those are after, because I kind of did this on a whim because some people were asking me to teach them to script and things like that. So I was like, all right, you know what? I'm just going to make videos. So y'all have a good day.